It's time. We're celebrating. It's 5 years. We're rolling on the road. We're rolling on the road. 100 shades of diversity. We're rolling on the road. Oh, rolling on the road. We're rolling on the road. 100 shades of diversity. We're rolling on the road. Take it away. It's time.
So much, Cousin Pat. We appreciate you. We have been rolling for 5 years, and I am your host, Dr. Kimberly. And today we are virtually rolling over to the Big D. For those of you, you know how we do on here. We're the only state that can put our hand up and say, okay, I'm over here, and she's over here. So we come all across the state of Michigan to the Big D, to Detroit. Most people, they always say, if you live in Michigan, you live in Detroit, you live in that Detroit, over there with Motown. No, there are other cities besides Detroit that are in the state of Michigan, but we love them all. And we want to say thank you to, I want to call her Dr. Tameka. That it's just seems like that should just be rolling off everybody's tongue. Everybody ready? Together, 1, 2, 3, say, Dr. Tameka. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He is a disabilities rights, guru, name plastered everywhere in the state of Michigan, outside of the state of Michigan. This itty bitty little old lady with this long hair, looking like baby Tina Turner, in a wheelchair. She just keep on rolling. She said, "Big wheels keep on turning. Woo, big wheels keep on rolling." That's how she makes you feel, and the energy that she brings into the room. And she's a phenomenal filmmaker. She's got several films out there. And I might have heard through the grapevine that it might be on Netflix. I don't know. Or
Tubi, yep. Amazon Prime, PBS.
I heard, they had to hire extra security when she in the room because she a potentate. Y'all, we have some very important people that roll through here. They really do. And we love to meet them where they are. They like to meet us where we are. And I'm just grateful. If you did not get the opportunity on last night, please go to Divas in the City TV on YouTube, or 100 Shades on YouTube, or on my personal page, Dr. Kimberly Kennedy, because it did run simultaneously on my personal page as well as on, as the old people say, on the YouTube. It was on the YouTube. But we had the conversation about reproductive justice. Do you want to finish the sentence?
Yes. Reproductive justice and cervical cancer screening for Black disabled women. Yes, it was a great discussion yesterday.
We want to say thank you to Shantae Paul. Woohoo! We're going to put your hands together. She is the winner. She won on Sunday. It was Sunday Night Funnies at Spectrum. First African-American woman to have won. And when she takes, on the whole thing on the 26th of October, we making history around here, y'all. We making history. She is a cervical cancer survivor. So I'm really looking for her input as a mother of 6 children, how she was treated. And we have Shana Thomas, who is here all the way from Bel Air, Maryland. All right, Maryland is in the house on today. Thank you so much, Shana, for rolling in on us today. Who came up with the idea to have this panel?
So it was myself and Dr. Brandie Brandie Bentley. We are working on a study, a survey, but a study about cervical cancer, the first at-home cervical cancer screening test for, we tried to study among Black disabled women. So that's coming out soon. But so we were thinking about, okay, the study, and I need to start doing outreach. So let's do an event to open up that discussion around the issues of, myself as an activist and as, someone, Black disabled woman. And I really feel the need and importance of talking about women's health, especially among the community. And with Brandie be, a researcher and a doctor and a doula as well for women with disabilities. So this is just kind of like a really great fit. We came together and say, let's do this. Let's have this conversation.
How did you choose your panelist?
Oh, wow. So I would choose the panelists. I was just thinking about, women in the community who I know that who are on the forefront of, reproductive health and cervical cancer screening and different organizations that I wanted to partner with this event. So that's kind of like, just thinking about who the leaders are and the organizations who will want to be part of this.
When you do panel discussions like this, and with Dr. Brandie being a researcher, does she take that information back to U of M, for those y'all know, University of Michigan, and that's located over here, the big university? How does that information get translated when it gets back to U of M?
Yeah, so she, with being a doctor and one of the lead researchers at Michigan Medicine, she likes having these type of conversations because it really would, I would think, confirm her work and having connection with the community because there are so many, research, but you need to be part of the community and hearing what they have to say. And so I know, and she'll be here in a minute so she can answer the question more better than I can. But I know with this discussions and other discussions she has really does inform her research and potential participants that could be part of the study.
There, I think I was trying to do the solo on you, and I think I kind of messed up. Okay, Kim, don't be trying to learn nothing new while you working. Play with this after the show.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I was doing that yesterday when I was monitoring. I'm like, let me not touch any buttons as people talk, and I can highlight people in editing. So,
Yep. We want to say thank you to Linda Bracy for tuning in. We greatly appreciate you being a supporter, and we appreciate you. Are our voices truly lifted up, and are they truly heard when we're talking? Do you think?
yeah, I think I want to say yes, but we have to make sure at the same time that our voices are in the room. So as the researchers and the doctors, they have different conventions. I know I have attended attend one in the past, which was the American Public Health Association, their
Mhm.
national conference. And so, so participating in those type of conferences and being engaging and having those, conversations, make sure submitting abstracts for these type of, conventions, I think will even be more, better because, or not say better, but it'll be equally as important, to attend the conferences and be a part of those conversations so you can be in the room with the decision makers and the doctors and the lead researchers as well. So I think, our voices definitely are heard, and centered in the research. However, again, we have to make sure we go to these conventions and join those type of research projects or those type of things, or even get into research ourselves as disabled people, to make sure that our voices are addressed.
Uh, hey, Dr. V. Dr. Vertanji is in the Detroit area along with you, doing some phenomenal work with autism. And I mean, every time you turn around, it's like, girl, I can't keep up.
Yes,
She
yes.
does a phenomenal job. And she says absolutely that our voice in the room matters. And she is definitely one that knows. She and I have worked together at the state level, with IEPs and being heard with our children. Um, I guess for me, I'm always concerned of the turnover that's in the room. And what I mean by that, if this is getting ready to be an election year in 2026, everybody has their own. She said she knows you.
Yes, yes, I love Dr. Vitaji. Hey.
Um, this has always been my concern is the turnover. And every 4 years, everybody's going to have their own agenda. And maybe this year, when I ran, it was the hot topic. If you did not or were not in support of, reproductive health and justice, then you weren't going to get the votes, you weren't going to get the money, you were not going to get, supported. And so this definitely, I can say, has been one subject that has continued to stay at the forefront. So for that, I am eternally grateful. But you still have those politicians and leaders that are not taking a stance. They want to keep it silent, let somebody else deal with it. So this is why it is imperative that we weigh in when topics come up like this, so
Yeah.
that we're always there. Because one thing that I have learned, leaders come and go, but the people are always there. They always stay. And we should really stop depending on the leadership part. We have to trust our voice and what we know, because if we do that and we all come together, they have no choice but to do what it is that we're asking them to do.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
You know,
that's most definitely true. The community is, we are the people. So, we gotta continue to come together, have the conversations, come up with, advocacy points, and that when we meet with legislators, have talking points, and that is chosen collectively, and sharing our stories and storytelling, and all those things are so important to do and to continuously do to get our needs out there.
thank you, Dr. V. She said turnover is the main issue, and it is. Why we're not getting consistency in what it is that we need. And what happens, we sometimes, we get 4 years in, oh my gosh, it's wonderful. and then we get set back a whole nother 4 years again, and
Yeah.
sometimes maybe even 8 years, because we put all of our eggs into, our leadership's basket, and we didn't take responsibility. How often do you run into people that don't take responsibility, that they can be a little, have some apathetic about all of it?
Well, I would say that, doing advocacy work, I would say a lot of people, especially when it comes to uh, disability, and I'm speaking of like a lot of my advocacy work and people I have contact with are more of legislators that are here in Michigan than, nationally. Um, but and it was I've read into, there's some great advocates or legislators in the state of Michigan, like Representative Sharon McDonald is really great. She runs the Michigan Disability Legislative Caucus, and there's Representative Emily Dinovoff. I know mispronounce their last name, but they are another great person out of Lansing. So we have a couple of great representatives that are really advocating their best for people with disabilities and, communities of color and those type of things, people. But in general, it's trying to get other people, say to listen and see the importance. And so I think when it comes to particularly disability, legislators want to be like, yeah, I hear what you're saying. Oh, wow, I didn't know that. So they kind of like patronizing per se. But when it comes to their votes, that's where you need to pay attention to, because how people vote or they don't vote, then that's will become, a problem. So yeah, you can get people to listen, especially when you talk about disability issues, but will they really back it up with their votes or find money, for the community? That's a whole different story.
I appreciate this comment. Dr. V says, this is why it's important to support organizations that are doing the work. We have to find our own basket. And,
Yeah.
and we do. We really need to support one another in the efforts that they're doing. We don't have to recreate the wheel, but how about we build a vehicle and everybody who has a wheel put the wheel on the vehicle. Oh, I like that. When we look at it like that, somebody might be the windshield, somebody's the wipers, somebody gets to be the steering wheel, the doors. We got to do it
Yeah.
so that
Yes.
we're this well-oiled machine moving through the state of Michigan and going into other states and helping uh, other folks. One of the things that I have found by doing Rolling on the Road is that I'm in 50 states and in about 5 countries that have been very, very loyal, if you will, over the 5 years that have rolled with me. So I have the opportunity to meet others who know the intersectionality of disability. And they're saying, hey, we like what you're doing. And then I'm able to connect folks across the state lines. I think that's the piece that I love the most about doing this job, are the connections that we've made, over the years, that, yep, they can depend on us to be here, every Tuesday and Wednesday, from 4 to 5. Sometimes it goes longer when the conversation gets really great and the audience just jumps right in there. But they know that we're going to be right here talking about them hot topics. I ain't scared. I ain't scared of y'all. What y'all gonna do? I'm already in a wheelchair. That's what, that's my thing is. What y'all gonna do? I'm already in a wheelchair. But it is now 20 minutes after the hour. It is 4:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for tuning into Rolling on the Road. And today, my guest is Dr. Tameka. How it keeps flowing
Yeah.
off my tongue.
Put it out the atmosphere.
You got to do that sometimes. She is a disability rights advocate. She is a filmmaker. She's a mother. She's a wife. She is a wheelchair user, and she's my friend.
Yes.
How about that? She's my friend, and I love her, and I appreciate her and the work that she continues to do, and knows how to amplify the voices of the BIPOC community and others. I mean, we can't just say it's just us, us four and no more, because when we find out when it comes to reproductive justice, that it happens to all women of color.
Yes. Yeah, all women,
It
in general. And yes, so
that
yeah,
this ends up being a woman thing and not a color thing. And so we're able to come together and be comrades, if you will. One of the things that I appreciated about being in the military, they didn't care whether you were black, you were white, orange, pink, or purple. They didn't care if you were LGBTQ, X, Y, and Z. All they needed to know, do you have my back when the enemy comes against us? Can you shoot a gun? Can you look out for me? That's all I care about. And even when we're out of the military, that's all we care about. That's what our relationships look like. Do you have my six?
yeah,
Do you have my back? And if we could all take on that mentality, I don't need to know about any of your personal views. I just need to know, will you have my back on this issue? Because somewhere it's going to affect and infect you. Because, there's a difference, but we are affected and infected. Infected with other people's, with their ignorance, and it affects us. Yes, she did that one, didn't she? Come on now, you got to give it to me. They're
yes,
in,
yes, yes.
they're infected with ignorance, and it affects us.
Yeah, it does. That's when I have an issue. You can think whatever you want to think, but if it's gonna affect me and my health and my community, yeah, it's a problem.
Then we got to really think about it. I was asked when I was running for office, could I reach across the aisle and work with somebody who was red being blue? And I said, if you notice, I'm always wearing what? He goes, yeah, I think that because Rook Albin interviewed me, and he says, I noticed that you seem to be a lover of purple. And I said, absolutely. And I said, purple comes from mixing red and blue together. So I'm looking for that perfect mixture. And based off of how much, red is giving, how much blue is giving depends on the shade of the purple. So sometimes it may be a gradient like this. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that.
But as long as we fall somewhere in here, this is ideal, having the nice deep purple. But if we can still stay in that gradient area, I'm fine. I'm fine. Because at the end of the day, every man has a woman that's in his life that he cares about, whether it's his lover, his wife, his girlfriend, the side chick, the daughter, his grandmother, his auntie, the lady who bags his groceries at the store, or the one who gives him a massage. he needs her around so that she can perform all them services for him. Because these certain things he's not gonna want a man to do. Well, we hope not, but that's his business if he do. But the point being, everybody, every man knows a woman and wants her to be at her very best.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's important. It's important. Want to be. Yeah, we need each other, and yeah, that they want definitely men as part of that discussion as well. And vice versa. Make sure men get the screenings, men get the
We
help.
need y'all, y'all prostate checked. We
Yes, that's
we thank
exactly.
we thank the Lord for y'all having what they say, the big cojones, but we don't need infected cojones.
Yeah, don't want nothing going down. So, yes, we need to look out for each other as communities and of people. Yeah, we definitely do.
Today is October 8th, 2025. Maybe you've never gotten involved in anything, done anything. That's always somebody else can figure out, somebody else can solve it. If that person is you, ooh, I feel like I'm at church. If that person is you, won't you come on down the aisle right now and we extend our right hand to you. Dr. Tameka and I are gonna be standing here waiting, or us, we're gonna sit back in our wonderful chairs and wait on y'all to walk while we roll. We will meet you even halfway down the aisle. And what is it that we want you to do? We want you to join on with us. Dr. Tameka, can you tell the people if they feel a prick in their heart or they have a story, nor a story, how can they get connected?
Yes. So, I would say one way to the easy way of doing it. Like if you have a story that you want to tell, that there's a lot of accessible, it's very accessible now to tell your story. So you can use learn platforms like what Dr. Kimberly has, StreamYard, or I use StreamYard as well, or you can use your phone and just begin to tell your story, upload it to your your Facebook, your social media. So that's one way of telling your story, because you'll be surprised, or that how many people need to hear your story and what you go through. And so that's one way of doing it. Also, I know there are organizations. So if there's a particular issue that you feel really passionate about, joining that organization that's pertaining to the issue that you care about, and volunteer, or to there's they post opportunities, especially if they like work with legislators, or or whatever the case may be. They may look for people who can share their story. And so so that's another opportunity as well. That's why I love media. um, and that's why I really, one of the things I'm really passionate about, because again, our stories are important, and people need to hear what we go through. So that's just one of the ways, or a couple of ways, to get out there and tell your story.
And if you don't feel like doing all of that, just y'all know how to find me. We can
Yeah.
come here and we can sit and we can have a conversation. And drum roll, please.
Yes.
She has
Brandie.
arrived. The queen is here, Dr. Brandie Bentley. I told her, yep, I like that last name, Bentley. We were meant to connect because my last wheelchair is a Bentley. I've upgraded to a Rolls Royce. Uh, so my big chair is the big Rolls, and then my other one is the manual one. That's my baby Rolls. And I was sitting here yesterday getting her outfitted. So she has this, I have a dress that's way too big for me. And now, and it's purple. And the design in it is paisley. So it's like purple paisley with this velvety material that is now cascading down on my wheelchair. It's so like,
Nice.
then I just got to add my butterflies to it and I'll be good to go. Like,
Yes.
who feels like walking when you can just get pushed around?
Roll
You know,
around.
that's people's always big thing. So, Dr. Kimberly, my first question for you, when people do an interview, so my first question is, if you could have one wish, I said, well, first of all, I don't wish, but next, well, if you did, okay, I know you want me to say prayer. I said, absolutely. So, have you prayed and asked God, like, do you want to not be in a wheelchair? I said, walking is overrated, honey. When you have red bottoms, do you know how much them things cost? And I said, do you think I want to mess up my bottoms by walking? I was like, no. I need to roll around so my feet can be all
Yeah.
kicked up, my little legs can be crossed, so you can see my shoes, and they not all scuffed up. Duh.
Yep.
Like, come on. But I tell you, it takes one of the things I've noticed, because this is my 12th year in the wheelchair, it has made it a lot easier to have these types of conversations, whether with legislators, you know, other folks that look like me that are in chairs or have disabilities, or even just to talk to a doctor, because it takes away the threat. And we can have open, honest conversation, which is a segue into you, Dr. Brandie. What is your impetus for having done this at all to work with the disability community?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Hi, good
Girl,
afternoon.
that's why I asked it.
I love that question. It's always so good. Yeah. So I have a lifelong connection to disability. Grew up in a family with many disabled family members. So my grandfather was paralyzed, and only knew him to be a wheelchair user. And then as I got older, my father was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and it is something that's really prevalent on my paternal side of my family. So I have a number of aunts, cousins, uncles, grandparents, all living with different types of disabilities. And so being able to be in this space, I always tell people, is like my work is incredibly personal. It's not something that I'm like, oh yeah, I support these communities. It's like, if I know that I'm making action and taking strides in this space, it has direct implications for myself and everybody else that I love. Like, these are my communities through and through, because it's a direct representation of my family.
I love that. I have 8 grandchildren and I only have one. I think out of all of them, only one has seen me walking around, because it's been 12 years. And so the oldest is 15. And at this point, he almost doesn't even remember when I was able to walk, because he was only, what, 3.
Yeah.
So for my other 7 grandchildren, they've only known me in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that piece, because they get to see a different side. I come to the schools, I read, in their classrooms, and they're just like, wow, my nana, my nana can roll. Can your nana roll? Your nana's nothing, because my nana is, yeah. Thank you, Marjorie, for tuning in. We greatly appreciate you. Today is, does anybody know what the day is today? Oh, it is Wednesday, October 8th. And the time is 4:34, 34 minutes after the hour. And you are tuned into Rolling on the Road with Dr. Kimberly. And my guest today is filmmaker, storyteller, jack of all trades. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. disability rights advocate, Dr. Tameka Citchen-Spuce, and we have her partner in crime, if you will, the illustrious Dr. Brandie Bentley. The name says it all when you say that Dr. and Bentley all in the same sentence. It says it all. She is a research fellow for U of M, and all of you know how I feel about U of M. Need I say it? Love, 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 love them. We have this wonderful relationship. Unfortunately, I don't like how we had to have the relationship. You know, as many of you know, that it started with my husband being there with congestive heart failure, and then me coming back to that same hospital or in a different room, but on the same floor, came back with a heart attack. Um, so we have been in close relationships since then, and then a few more things that have happened. And U of M is definitely my choice of hospitals. So yes, I said it there. I sit on it. I can't say I stand on it, but I sit on it that they are the best. And by having Brandie here, I know that they do the very best and they put their money where their mouth is because they hired you and they allow you great latitude to do what it is that you do. Now, I asked Tameka this question, and I'll ask you what happens to the information? So for those of you who did not know, on last night, we started the conversation, and I said start. The operative word is start, meaning we still have a long way to go. This is a marathon, not a sprint, of having conversations about reproductive, justice, cervical cancer screening, and the Black woman with disabilities. What made you research that?
Yeah. So for me, my personal research is really focused on maternal health equity for Black disabled women. I was introduced to research early in my undergrad career through an internship with the Black Mothers Breastfeeding Association right here in Detroit. And
Oh,
so,
that's me. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I do that?
yeah, yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. And I have to interject this very quickly because my first time out the gate, I had twins, a girl and a boy. They were born at 26 weeks. And so breastfeeding was the way that they were able to stay alive. Okay, I might get them doctors a little something, prayer and breastfeeding. But uh, and being able to breastfeed was wonderful. And because I was producing so much milk and them being in the neonatal unit, that they asked me to become a donor. So I got to
Mhm.
nurse all of the babies in the neonatal unit. They would have me come in and literally hook me up to this machine that looked like just you just hook your cow up and put them teats in there and it goes, it milks you. And then the bottles keep coming. They have a person that sits there. And when it gets full, they cap them and seal them, cap them and seal them. And we sit there and we do that mm, twice a day. I was doing it. So when anybody tells you that Black women do not breastfeed their babies, that's a lie. I did all the babies.
Exactly, exactly. Yes, that's the exact point. When I was introduced to research, I was young. I was like a sophomore in undergrad, and I got connected to the Black Mothers Breastfeeding Association, and that's exactly the mission of their work: is to spread information to Black Detroit moms about the value of breastfeeding and to dispel this stigma that Black women don't breastfeed. And so, in an effort to reduce infant mortality, maternal mortality, they highly endorse breastfeeding amongst Black families. And I was like, oh, this is research. Like I can do research on this. Yeah. And so that is what jump started my pathway to a career in research. And I have just been incredibly fortunate and blessed to continuously interact with other Black scholars researching Black topics. And I was like, I like this. This is my jam.
Mm.
These things are happening right in my own backyard. And it was just so fascinating to be able to connect in that space and also understand the power of having the data and having the numbers and having all of the methods that push this work forward. And so that was my introduction And I just took it and ran with it. I'm still in the maternal health research space, but through that work have definitely noticed that there is a lack of representation and research underscoring the experiences of disabled folks. And so folks aren't talking about what happens when you're Black and disabled and how we're experiencing racism and ableism and how both of those factors together are impacting our outcomes. And so that's how I ended up in this space. And it was just incredibly affirming to be able to connect with folks like both of you along the way who are like, yeah, we're doing this work. Because that's what I always tell people. Just because you don't see the research being produced does not mean that folks are not in the street coming up with their own solutions. The knowledge exists within community, the solutions exist within community. And I'm just incredibly fortunate to use the opportunities that I have within my research space to bridge those connections and elevate community as a solution, because we have a lot of the answers. And it's just important for researchers who look like us from our communities to be on the ground doing work alongside the folks who are pushing things forward every day. So that's my story.
I appreciate that. And for those of you like me, I said, they got Black people in research? What? We be researching things and not just AI, you know? What?
Yeah.
So with the panel that happened on last night, how do you as a researcher, what do you do with that information?
Yeah, we take that information back. So I just started my position as an assistant professor with the Department of Family Medicine officially 1 week ago. And so I'm super, super early on in my career, and have been fascinated with the way that Michigan medicine is incredibly intentional about making sure that we have direct translation between our research, what's happening in community, and what's happening in the clinic. So there is a lot of interaction and relationship between researchers and clinicians and community to make sure that we're co-creating solutions. So we're able to take the information that we heard last night and people's experiences and other interests in research back to the drawing board and say, like, okay, these are topics that folks are interested in. Do we have capacity and resources to look into them? And then once we do have more information on things, how can we directly translate that information into action?
I want to say thank you to Sharon Pearson for tuning in. I greatly appreciate you. It's nice when I see people that I know from when I was growing up being a little girl. Now I'm just a big little girl. Oh, who baby? That I know it's got to be you. Anything that you, that Dr. Tameka, Lord Jesus, we got to work on that, honey. We got to work on it.
It's my dog this time.
Everybody need to get in line. But I always like to offer the opportunity. I love, warm handoffs. So if you are someone who you don't know what you want to be and you're in college, think about becoming a researcher. Things that you don't like or you've experienced, this is your opportunity to do something about it. Get on the other end of solving the problem. Be the solution, instead of being either you part of the problem or you part of the solution. Or you can complain about the problem. So we're not going to complain here. We don't do complaints. Now you can tell me, and in 3 minutes, okay, you done. All right, I got a solution for that. Okay, do you want that or don't you? And they'll be like, well, that's not. No, we don't just come in and complain. Please take yourself off mute. Y'all made me feel like, oh, wait a minute, do I need to go get my hearing aids? I can't hear nothing. Unmute yourself.
Tameka's dog went off and then mine started going off. I said, uh-oh.
Y'all making me feel bad. I don't have no children. I ain't got no husband. I ain't got no cat, no dog, no bird. But I got my plants. Okay, can y'all see my plants?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, so you can't. Well, there's one. Yeah. You can't see because of the sunshine. There's some plants.
Oh, okay.
I got two plants. but they don't make noise. Make no noise. I got my plan. Got my plan. I appreciate this time, that we're together and we have the meeting of the great minds. And you stop and you think, so do y'all even sleep at night? Are y'all up trying to think of the next thing? Y'all like, okay, so I got my cancer pen. Here go my little cancer pen. And because I'm a survivor. And I'm just like this, like, okay, what else came up? And I have all these little pieces of paper, my phone, the little notes. I start emails, I put them in the draft. Then that way I can go back and add to it. So how do each one of you process all of the information that comes to your mind? Because I know that there's a plethora of things.
Yeah. Wow. And I'm a night person too. And yeah, it's not good sometimes. I'm like, okay, just I gotta, get it out, think about it, and then I'm like, okay, I'll take care of that tomorrow, or just write it down and come back, with it tomorrow. So yeah, but definitely feel you. It's hard to sleep sometimes thinking about just these and especially the state of the world now, and it's a lot. So you gotta do a lot of self-care and do things that gives you peace and joy, and focus on that too. So that's what I tend to try to do at times.
Dr. Brandie, how about you?
Yeah, I'm like you, Dr. Kimberly. I keep my notebook with my pen next to me all the time. And I'm literally just writing stuff down throughout the day. And sometimes years will go by and I'll revisit old notebooks and say, oh, I did jot that note
You
down.
too? Oh my
And then
God.
it makes sense. I'm like, I don't know what I was gonna do with that at the time, but I just have to like have a holding space for things. And so having a notebook, and I just save my notebooks and go back through them as the years go on, and sometimes like stuff pops out and I'm like, oh yeah, I needed that.
I am right now coaching, if you will, or mentoring a doctoral candidate. And so we meet twice a week. And in one of I think it was like our first or our second meeting, I had all my little notes. I had them all written down. So I'm looking at, I'm acting like I memorized it, So I'm just like this, like, and what is so funny when you talk about time going by, I was like, these are some of the things that I think that you should focus on. And then here's something I would like to present based off of having interviewed you, looking at what you're doing in your life, your personal life, your professional life, your spiritual, and then what is it that you like to do for self-care. All of that should be congruent. And so I started giving some ideas, about the dissertation, and I had these points, and I mean, I was just so meticulous. This man pulls out a three ring binder, and says, everything you just said, I wrote this 11 years ago. This was 15 years ago. And so you are touching on all of those pieces. So I know this is the right way, to go. I want to say thank you for Buzz Smith for tuning in. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. And it's that piece right there that brings all of this into fruition. The obedience of when you have been given a responsibility to do something, to make a change in life, and you're constantly, documenting that however you need to. And then when the time comes, you come back, and then it's like, okay, this is how it's going to get executed. Because I'll ask you the same thing I asked Dr. Tameka earlier, was how did you choose, your panel? When you said, okay, I want to do this panel, It's in my notes from 3 years ago. And I think today is the day that we execute it. How do you choose those people that you want to come and have that discussion with to be able to take back to the bigger group and say, all right, this is some of the input that we need in order for us to move forward?
That's a good question. Tameka is the genius behind this. I would, I would really put it all on her leadership, and her vision. And I think something that we had a lot of conversation about was the fact that Black experience is so multifaceted. And so we wanted to make sure that we had representation from different types of physical disabilities and different ages and different geographic locations, because all of those things are shaping people's lived experiences. And something that I'm always endorsing, because in other audiences, folks don't always get that. Like, they're like, oh, we want to talk to Black women. And they think that all of our experiences will look the same, but there's a multitude of factors that shift and shape our lived experiences. So I'm always endorsing the fact that even though we have a sample of all Black women with physical disabilities, there's going to be so much variety in that. And there's a lot of nuance in that. And it's important for us to explore the breadth of that experience, because it's not homogenous. It doesn't look the same across every individual. I think especially when you're looking at that intersectionality of disability and race, and how different identities and factors are all coming together in each individual's experience, it's important for us to have diversity across the board as well. And so that's something that we were intentional about with last night's panel, is making sure that we had that diverse representation so we could hear from different experiences.
Oh, we have so many hearts going up right now, so many lights. Thank you, thank you, thank you, you know, to the audience for weighing in that way. Unfortunately, it doesn't come on the screen like that, which it would really be nice if it could come through. But with streaming on 6 different platforms, it makes it just a little bit difficult. But I can see it here on my phone, and I am most grateful for that. It is now 52 minutes after the hour. It is 4:52, and you are tuned into Rolling on the Road with Dr. Kimberly. If you are watching this on GRTV 25, today is Wednesday, the 8th of October, and this of 2025. And just know that the information that we're sharing here is not time sensitive. So you can, at any given time, if you know a woman that is of color, that has a physical, mental, or emotional disability, and they've been having some issues with getting services, have them plug in and we can come alongside them. What I like to say is the piece when people say, what is it that you do? And I said, I believe that I'm an interpreter. I think that needs to be added to my repertoire, is being an interpreter, because sometimes people don't understand. If you are in a doctor's office and you don't speak English, and let's say you speak Vietnamese, they have to go get an interpreter for you. But what if you speak English and you have a learning disability? You need somebody to be there to be your interpreter. Or if you do have a physical disability, you need someone who can interpret your needs to say, oh, wait a minute, this is how we need to speak to her, and this is how we can help her to make this visit better for her. Where does something like that show up in your research, Dr. Brandie? How does that come through?
I love that question. In addition to being a researcher, I'm also a community-based doula in the Detroit area. And so I provide informational, educational, physical, and emotional resources to families as they navigate pregnancy, labor and delivery, and postpartum. And that is 100% of what we do. So we're attending doctor's appointments with families. We're making sure that their questions are answered. We're having follow-up conversations to make sure that they understand all of their options and are making informed decisions with the most resources and information that is available. And I think specifically from my background as a researcher, I'm really big on making sure that families have access to evidence-based resources. And so if they're saying, I want to do XYZ with my birth, say, did you read the peer-reviewed literature to talk about these different experiences and outcomes? And do you know what the best evidence-based practice is? And I'm able to connect them with a number of resources that write everything out in layman's terms. And so it makes it very simple to understand. And for many of us, like having that extra set of eyes and ears and clinical spaces is so valuable. And I always tell families during labor and delivery, everything moves fast. The nurses are coming in and out, the doctors are moving
Oh
quickly.
God, it does.
And they make fast decisions. It's like in a split second, they can say, we're doing XYZ. And they don't slow down enough to explain to the families, like, this is what this means. They're doing this work every single day. They know it inside and out, but families, we don't. Like, this is a new experience, maybe our first time having a certain procedure or hearing a certain medication. And so in clinical spaces, my role is really advocating for pause. There has been a number of times in clinical spaces where I say, hey, can we have 30 seconds? Like, can you give us 30 seconds, 60 seconds to talk about this as a group? And I'm checking in with mom and dad and saying, do you all understand what they just said? Do you understand what this means? Are you comfortable with what they're going to do? Do you have any questions? And having that check-in point really makes people feel validated and seen and informed. And it's like the focus is on me. Like, this is my experience. And oftentimes for Black families, that's taken away from us. We're just told to sit back and enjoy the ride. And it's not fun. No one keeps you informed. And so I think thinking more about what that integration between practice and research looks like and how we can tie both of those things together to really support families and communities the best that we can.
It is now 4:57, 57 minutes after the hour. Dr. Tameka, can you give us, I'm not going to say final words, but leave us with a thought for us to pick back up when we have another conversation?
Yeah, I think it'd be. I know that's
Like, dang, she put me on the spot.
heavy loaded question. But I think we need to continue the conversations, as an advocate, like what are some policies that we need to see changed as it comes to, reproductive health and maternal health and, women's health. What are some of the policies that we need to change that we would like to see in our community? So that's something we can talk about next time.
All righty. And Dr. Bentley Brandie. I like to say the Bentley first. Bentley. Yes, Dr. Bentley. What thought do you want to leave with the people till we come back and have another conversation?
Cool. My thought would be, how do we co-create solutions moving forward? And what does it look like to shift power where everybody has equal value at the table? I think a lot we talk about having the seat at the table and what that looks like. But then in spaces, there's still certain voices that are valued more than others. And people think it's enough to say, well, I offered you a seat, that should be enough. It's like, no, pay people for their work and value the expertise that they bring to the table. And that does not always come in the form of a degree. Lived experience in and of itself is a degree of life. And it's important that we're understanding and including that in everything that we do. So my final thought would be, what does it look like to co-create those solutions, and how can we all use our individualized expertise to push the goal forward?
Yes.
I thank you, lady. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. As always, this isn't the end of the sentence. There's no period here. There is a definite comma, because on tomorrow we will continue the conversation with the ladies who were on the panel on last night. If you did not have an opportunity to see that, please go over to Divas in the City on YouTube, or you can go to 100 Shades on YouTube. It's there. It is still posted on my personal page because we did stream it live to my page as well. And it got uploaded to GRTV 25. So they did send me an email today that it's already uploaded to the television station. So you'll have an opportunity to see it on television as well if you have cable. So we try to make sure that we cover every single medium that everybody is able to get it. If you have a topic, or something that you just really need an answer to and you want to see it, please reach out and let me know so that we can find the experts. And as it was stated earlier, and I wholeheartedly, believe in that the lived experience is almost so much more greater than the degree, because you know exactly every little nuance of that particular issue that you have experienced, and it has value. You have value. Know that you are loved and you are valued here at Rolling on the Road by me and my whole staff of 100 Shades of Diversibility. And until tomorrow, you guys stay well. And it is flu season. And if you believe in vaccines, please make sure you get your COVID vaccine and your flu and pneumonia. Keep yourself healthy. All right, because we need you to live healthier ever after. And we will see you again on tomorrow.